What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our next episode of Sound Tips, where we're going to give you some practical tips for sound people working in particularly live sound, mostly if you're in the church setting, but some of the stuff will apply to you even if you're in a club or any other type of a live sound setting. So we're going to jump right in this week. This episode, we're going to be talking about direct boxes. And we're not going to get real deep into the technical side of direct boxes, but we're going to talk about what they are, how you use it, and why you need one. So let's jump right in. A direct box is simply a device that takes a high impedance signal and makes it a low impedance signal. And the reason why that's important is a high impedance signal can only go 15 or 20 feet before you start having signal loss, changes in the way it sounds. It can start buzzing, and you start having problems with it. Whereas a low impedance signal can go for hundreds of feet before you start having those kinds of issues with it. So if I have something like an acoustic guitar or a keyboard or a bass guitar or even an iPad, computer, anything like that, essentially anything that's not a high or a balanced line output or a microphone, needs to be converted so that you can run long distances to your stage box if you're running a digital snake, or to your mixing console in the sound booth, or wherever you're running that to. So what you need to do that is a direct box. And essentially a direct box has a number of functions. It has an input where it allows you to plug that instrument or that device into it. This particular one also has an output. So if you see, it has input and output labeled on it. I don't know if you can read the writing. So if you can't, you'll just have to take my word for it. And that's so if I'm playing, like for example, a bass guitar, I can plug the guitar into the input and the output into the amplifier. If I'm using an amplifier, I can still utilize my amplifier on stage if I need to, but I can send my signal from my guitar to the sound system. So it has that on it. Most of them will also have a ground lift switch. A lot of times when you plug into a direct box, it'll create a ground problem where you already have one. And so you can a lot of times flip that switch and it will make the buzz or the hum go away. And so there are some other things that they do. This particular one has what's called an amp, an instrument, or they'll have a pad button, depending on the brand that you have. Essentially, you flip that button and it knocks the signal down. So if you've got an output that's really strong, you can knock that down at the direct box before you ever get into your sound system, so you're not overdriving your mixing console. This one also has a flat and a filter. That's useful for something that you want to cut the highs on. To be honest with you, I've rarely used that. Most people will say if you're doing like an electric guitar or something like that, that's what you want to use. I don't think an electric guitar sounds real good direct into a system. So very few instruments are like that, but I think an electric guitar could benefit from having an amp simulator or an amplifier if you have that, and then using a microphone on the amplifier. But you can use a direct box if you want to. And others do some other things. But those are the basic functions, almost every one of them. If it's a decent direct box or DI, it will have a ground lift switch at a bare minimum. So what's the difference? Because you can go to the store and you can buy a DI box for $25, $35. You can go to the store and you can buy one for hundreds of dollars. And what's the difference between the $25 and $35 one and the one that costs many times more than that? Well, essentially what a direct box is doing is it has a transformer on the inside, so it's changing the signal. And the biggest difference is the quality of that transformer is going to make a big difference, because a transformer can, and most of the time will, color your sound. So it will kind of add or detract, so you're not getting the purest, cleanest sound through the direct box. Now, With the higher end or the better ones, you can't hear the difference, but technically it is kind of changing it because it's taking the signal and transforming it to a different type of a signal. So in order to do that, it does change the sound a little bit. And the biggest difference in direct boxes in price is going to be the quality of that transformer. The higher quality transformers are just simply going to give you better sound and better performance. Now, you'll hear me say this, I'll say it a lot over time if you continue to watch my videos, and I certainly hope you will. Spend as much money as you possibly can. If you can only afford a $35 direct box, then unfortunately that's what you're going to have to live with. But there are going to be ramifications of having a cheap piece of equipment, because your audio signal is a chain, and your chain is only going to be as strong, of course, as your weakest link. So you could have a high dollar mixing console, high dollar speakers, great cabling, a quality instrument, and you plug it into a $35 direct box, and it's just not, there's your weak link, and it's not going to sound good. And you see that anywhere along the chain in your sound system. So my advice really in the audio world is you really do get what you pay for. So spend as much as you possibly can, even on little things like direct boxes. Another difference is there's a direct box that's a passive or an active direct box. And essentially the biggest difference is how they come about, changing from that high impedance to low impedance. And an active direct box requires either phantom power from the console or a external power supply. Some active direct boxes are tube direct boxes, so they really do color your sound, and they give it a nice rich warm sound. And those require maybe some external power, because to power up that tube you don't have enough power from the console to do that. But most consoles will have a phantom power switch or button where you can switch that on for an active direct box. Typically, an active direct box is going to be a little bit better quality. Again, you see a price range. They range from a few dollars to hundreds and maybe even thousands of dollars for an active direct box or a tube DI. And so you really do get what you pay for. But the key is, and really the takeaway from a practical standpoint, is if you have an instrument such as an acoustic guitar, a keyboard, anything that doesn't have a balanced or a microphone level output, you need a direct box in order to convert so that you can run the distances that you need to run for a sound system. So if I'm running a keyboard, some keyboards actually do have a balanced output. We'll talk about how balanced and unbalanced in a future video, so stick with me if you don't understand what that difference is. But some of them actually do have a balanced output, and you can run that to the system directly. But most of them do not, and you actually do have to convert that signal. A bass guitar, an acoustic guitar, if you're going to plug an electric guitar straight into the system, then it needs to go through a direct box. And so essentially your computer, your whatever you're going to do, music playback, if you're going to run more than, I would say, 10 or 15 feet for that, then you need to convert it to a direct box and take advantage of being able to have the good quality signal get into your sound system. Because remember, it's a chain. So anywhere I lose my quality, that's as strong as my chain is going to be. So I want to make sure that I keep that quality high, keep it up, and keep it going. So that's it real quick. Direct boxes will continue again as we build upon concepts and get more complex. We talk about greater things, but I really want to set a foundation, especially if you're new, if you haven't been doing this a while, so that you have a basis that you can build on in knowledge, so that you can become a good quality sound person. So thanks again for staying with me this week. And if you would like to, hit the subscribe button below so you'll get these, and hit the notification button and you'll be notified when these go out on every Thursday. Try to put them out on Thursday afternoon, but I'll get them out on Thursday as best I can every week so that you'll have a new video. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.